Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Cup of Three. It has been a very long time since I've said that, so it feels very weird. But my name is Ashley. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host Mabel and co-host and fiancé Agu. Hi, guys.
Hello, welcome back.
Oh, my goodness. It has been a break.
Wait, who are we saying? Are we saying welcome back to each other, or are we saying welcome back to listeners?
Everybody.
I'm welcoming
Welcome back,
you. I'm
everybody.
welcoming the listeners. I'm welcoming anyone else who cares anything about this at all.
Yeah. It has been really cool getting messages of people who are like, hey, what's up?
Mm-hmm.
New season? Like, it's still crazy that people listen to this. So I think
Yeah.
that's kind of wild. It's like, oh, hey, you
Thank
care.
you.
I know.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys for reaching out. That's every time we get one of those messages, we're like, okay, fine. We have to like really get moving now on it because people
It also feels like really sweet. Like, oh, people
they
care
miss
about
us.
us.
They miss us and our weird ideas and all the things we talk about.
This is why you need
Our
to call your
references to New
grandmother.
Girl and Fresh, HelloFresh.
We haven't plugged HelloFresh in weeks.
I mean, it's been a while. We had to have our catch
I
up.
know. I mean, a lot has happened just outside of the podcast in this time. Like, as we know, Mabel has moved to San Diego, has been out there.
Well, are we saying straight up cities? Are we just saying moving?
West Coast. I think we've mentioned it
Hey.
before.
Yeah,
Mabel's address is 123
Just,
Ocean
and
View.
my phone number is 555.
oh my gosh. I don't. So all this is staying in because chances of me cutting this out slim.
It's fine. It's fine. But yeah, since then, Agu and I bought a house and have moved. So we were like in the house buying process during the last time we were recording. So if we seemed a little stressed, that was why. So we have new backgrounds too. Nice boring wall. Yes.
My background kind of looks relatively the same.
It's pretty close.
Just modified a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're back for season 13. I have to admit I was a little unsure if we would come back after season 12 with how rough it was. It was high
I think
drama.
that could be. I think that's a great place to start. Like, does it feel like they've tried to like redeem and like make changes from what you've seen so far, compared to last season?
I'd like to think that yes, but something that kind of was a little off-putting to me was in the kickoff special, they had Paige come back.
Oh,
And they basically asked her, do you actually think Mercedes was pregnant? Rude question, first of all. And they basically were like rehashing a little bit of the drama. And it's like, you know what? This has been how long now for Paige? Over a year? Like, please stop reintroducing the same drama again. Girl's trying to just move on with her life. And you could tell in her face, she was over it.
Yeah.
Over it. So, I don't know. Like, the couple seem great. So maybe, yeah, they're trying to redeem themselves a little bit. They don't want someone that's going to be too toxic.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, just at the first sort of glance of this season, because I still feel like it's so hard to get a read on everyone until really they're together and like after the weddings and they're spending time with each other. Everyone seems pretty fine so far. I don't see any like major red flags the way that they stuck out with like Chris, for example. But I think I'm a little, I echo your feelings, Agu, of feeling a little burned out and just wishing that the content was just more focused on like how the relationships are actually unfolding instead of the storytelling that really goes around those to kind of cue up the drama. I think that stuff is so much more valuable, and their shift slowly but steadily away from that is where a lot of my hesitance comes from. But I'm hopeful that with this group, there's at least the potential for some different conversations to come up. We have a very diverse cast, which is awesome. And so we get to see a lot of different dynamics and relationships from that. And yeah, so I'm interested. My interest is kind of peaked, but I'm still feeling a little burned from last season.
Yeah. I kind of feel like I just came out of like a really bad relationship, and I'm like, anything that like remotely reminds me of last season, I'm just like, oh my gosh, you're gonna hurt me again. I can't trust you. That's
So
a little bit,
Yeah.
Because like, see, I know we've said this before, but season 11 was so nice, And like it did feel long a little bit at the end, but that's kind of normal. But like I think I can say for all of us, we generally enjoyed that season, and season 12 was what it was. But yeah, it feels like also they didn't do the like opposites attract thing as much this season from what we've seen. Like literally, I know that's something that we're probably going to talk about, but like almost everyone's relatively from the same culture. Like, so there's that. There's a lot of similar ages. They also went older. I think all the guys are 35 besides Zach, who's 27. So I think this might be the season with the most like 30-year-olds that they've ever had. Well, like last season kind of was a lot younger. So
maybe that's their way of being safer, right? Like if they're avoiding a couple of those curveballs that could come from clashes, different cultures. And we've even seen like in the past, some people like the cultures can be a big deal breaker if it doesn't work out as you'd think. So maybe, you know, going older, staying in the same culture, they're just avoiding some potential like massive pitfalls. I don't know.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, do we just want to get into it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Here we are. So I guess I should have mentioned this before. If you haven't figured it out by now, we're talking about Married at First Sight, season 13. And this is kind of covering episodes 1 through 3. So this is all of the weddings. And then it seems like the next episode, we're going to see more like of the receptions and then everybody hanging out with their in-laws for brunch and that kind of a thing. So we're just going to talk through the couples and see kind of what came up with them. So let's start with Johnny and Bao. I think they're really cute. I have to admit,
They're super cute.
I was on the fence, like when I saw the sort of bios of each of them individually, when they were, you know, first selected and all this stuff, I was like, I honestly have no idea which way this is going to go. I feel like it's like, it could go either way. Like it could be like a really good match because they are aligned in so many things, but we're also putting together two people who like kind of consider themselves control freaks, which like that could be a big tension point, you know, but I don't know. What do you guys think of them? Do you like them?
I saw Bao's like interview process, and I just think that she is the sweetest just human being on the planet. She just seems so kind and so great, and she was like making bread when Dr. Viviana went to go visit her house. And I mean, there are some red flags there. She kept talking about like she's the one to break it off with partners, and she can be a little picky, which dude can be a little picky too. So yeah, there's a couple of clashes that may come up in their conversation, but they just both seemed so humble, just kind and good people, good mannered people. So I just liked both of them as humans, and so I think together they'll be great.
Yeah, I like them for each other. I think they did a good job of picking. So, you know, just because they're two people from Vietnam doesn't necessarily mean that they're people who feel as strongly about their culture. And I think like their dynamic in particular kind of hit a chord with me because, you know, as one of my first generation, where like you feel American because you're born here, raised here, but you have family that is from the mother country, whatever, motherland, whatever that is for your different culture. And because of that, you feel a strong respect and pull to that, but you also aren't necessarily that. Like you're different from that as well. And I think the fact that they were both heads of their organizations in college, that I think that's like a great sign that they care about that side of like they care about their Vietnamese side quite a bit. Like in college, like I knew about the African Association. I kind of joined, but I didn't like really, like I liked the people in it, but I wasn't gonna like, that wasn't my, I wasn't so strongly pulled to that I was going to make that a huge part of my identity. I was like, okay, I'll hang out when you guys have food and beer, but like that's not going to be the main college experience for me. But I very much enjoy and respect that side of my culture, and I speak the language, and I went to school out there, yada, yada, yada. But I think they did a good job of pairing two people like that, and the tea ceremony, all that stuff. Yeah. Bao, a little, there's a few scenes with Bao that I was just like, what? And there's a few scenes with Johnny that I was a little meh on, but I think, yeah, overall, I like them together. What do you think, Ashley?
Yeah. I like them together. I was very concerned at first when she first comes down the aisle and she goes, I know him. And of course they wait to tell us how they know each other. And I was like, oh shit, like, is this going to be like, oh yeah, we like made out at a party one time and he never called me, or like, I don't know, something like that would bring up bad memories or would be like a bad first impression. But I think after Bao's whole like situation with the sports fan and feeling so upset that she was paired with some jock who was going to be like just talking about sports all the time. Also, to use the phrase sports fan is just my favorite, because that's like, you couldn't make yourself seem like less of a sports person by saying that. And like, she was so hung up on that. But I think the saving grace of that and them not like getting off on the wrong first foot is that she knew him. And she was like, yeah, I know Johnny, he's a sports fan, but he also has, and like, she was able to be like, oh, I know of this person also outside of his interests as something that like seems like a red flag to me. And also it's like, sweetie, like, correlation is not causation. Like, because you dated some sports fans in the past that like didn't treat you right, does not mean that the millions of people in the world who are sports fans are all alike. Like, it's just not how it works.
I want to go on a rant about that so much.
I knew you were going to pick some sort of soccer team.
Here we go.
I have strong feelings on this, but I will. Mabel, how did you feel about the scene before?
Literally, as Ashley was talking, I was like, "Agu's gonna pick a team and just start ranting
He'll
about
be like,
except
Manchester United."
I literally was gonna think of Manchester United.
Well, he's all upset now because Messi is leaving Barcelona.
Yeah, but anyways,
I mean, Barcelona's going bankrupt. You know, it happens. They can't afford them anymore. Can't afford them.
Oh my gosh! So I thought that was so funny too. I was like, girl, like, jerseys is kind of a weird gift, but hey, he's trying to show you who he is.
You gave him cat socks.
Loves his sports team. I just thought that was all hilarious. Like, girl is clearly going down this like spiral, like downfall in her head of like,
catastrophic.
I don't even know if this is gonna work out. This is terrible. And they call her, so we need to get to the wedding now, and she's just like, ugh.
But, like, also I think that's maybe a good example of how Bao might process, like, ideas that she doesn't like. And, like, that did become catastrophic thinking really quickly. And luckily it worked out where, like, she knew the guy, and so she had other contexts to kind of associate with him, and it wasn't, like, the end of the world. But, like, if that hadn't happened and this had just been, like, another guy who she'd never met who was a sports fan, she would have been, like, like, keeping her eye on him, like, oh, are you going to be, like, some weird jock that I don't like? This isn't what I asked for, or whatever. And, like, that could have really put them, like, started them off on the wrong foot. And so, like, that lack of flexibility concerns me a lot. And I think Johnny is also kind of susceptible to that, too, because he has certain expectations about what he needs and how that's going to happen. So I hope they're going to work through that, but they're both going to need to be flexible in this whole process. Like, I use this word constantly when we talk about the show, but like, that flexibility is what's going to get them through this. So they're going to have to learn really fast to do that.
That's true. That's true.
My very, very quick little sprinkle rant, nothing too much, but really, she's like drinking her tea/coffee. I just feel like
I'm thirsty.
So let me start off by saying I get like she knows nothing about this individual. So the one little thing she had, which was the jerseys, she latched onto to try to like decode and learn more about him. And I feel like anyone would do that in that situation. So this is going to be a rant, but like it's not because of you. It's more like I've noticed sometimes people do this where rigidity does not equate to intelligence. Like I think I'm using I'm quoting this correctly, but she's like, I work with some of the most brilliant minds in cancer research, and none of them are into sports. What the fuck does that mean? Like, that is some stupid, like, just because a person has one trait so let me get this right. You work with intelligent people, so if they don't behave exactly like the people that you work with, they are then not intelligent? Like, that is insane. Like, that is absolutely insane and ridiculous. Like, it's just like all this like tropey, dumb stuff that's not true. Like, that's just not true. And then the moment she had Bao, she was like, then she could have nuance because now it's Johnny. The moment she had Johnny there, then she could show nuance. Like, so I understand why she did that, but I found that concerning because that was just like, that was the definition of stereotyping. Like, she had one thing and then like gave this whole backstory of like, that's insane. That being said, I think they are very cute together. And I think like, I really like the part, like how much they care about their culture. Like the tea ceremony was really, really cool to see. And I think having someone like her weirdly is so like, we can kind of go into this, but Johnny's father did not want to be involved in this.
Right.
And
that's tough.
That was a very difficult scene where he like called and like they cut out most of it, but you get the feeling that like the father was basically just scolding him the entire time about how dare you do this. And Johnny even mentioned like, I need to get his forgiveness. And this is a person who broke up with your mother very early, and for him to still feel that obligation and want to connect with him is very interesting to see.
Right.
And maybe this is me injecting some of like my family and stuff, but I have a feeling like the father, the reason why he was so against this is it's not the cultural traditional Vietnamese way of doing this. And having someone like Bao, who is very much into the culture, very Vietnamese, also likes the culture. Maybe if the dad is willing to accept anyone, maybe someone like that she's got the best chance, I guess. So yeah, in a weird way, like I think that is a great benefit for them. And it feels like the experts did a good job with this one. They played it safe, but I think you want to in this situation. Okay, my rant done, but
yeah,
it frustrated me.
Yeah, I hear you.
It did.
I think another thing with Johnny is he mentioned when he's asked like, what type of person do you want to be paired with? He said he wanted somebody who was very clingy and really was he didn't use the word dependent, but it seemed like that's kind of what he was describing, of like someone who he didn't have to wonder if they liked him, that they showed it pretty clearly. I'm curious kind of where that need comes from in his attachment style, but I also wonder if that's going to be something that Bao is really about, just given, like, when they were having their first dance, for example, he seemed to be very aware that, like, she wasn't, like, super comfortable being around him kind of physically yet, because that's a lot to be, like, kind of physically close to a new person and have these expectations that you're like falling in love immediately and all this stuff. So he was like saying how like, I kind of want to kiss her, but she doesn't seem comfortable. So I'm trying to be respectful. And I, have my hand on her waist. Like he's really thinking about it, which is a really great sign that he's very tuned in to how she's responding to him. But I do wonder over time how much that's going to evolve with her. Like, is that her style, to be like someone who's going to come and hug you from behind or want to cuddle on the couch, or, you know, like just have those moments throughout living together that, like, for some people feel normal, and for others that, like, just feels like too much. I wonder how that's going to match up, is all I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm. I get the impression that he wants a security blanket of, like, she loves me more than I love her. Because he even mentioned that that's usually what he goes for. He usually goes for the woman that's going to fall for him sooner and make the first move and really just be, like, safe. And he doesn't have to worry about getting hurt, basically. But the way that he also receives that is through physical touch. So I feel like Bao has the first part of it, at least the comfort for him, where she is super into him. She might, I think, fall in love with him more earlier first before he does. But
Really?
she just maybe, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, like she just seems super into him. That's my impression, at least. Like,
Yeah, no, cool.
I thought that she's gonna really like him, especially when she was like, "Oh, I've always had a crush on him since college." And the thing though that might catch them is that he won't get that physical touch as much or as early as often as he may want it. I don't know if that's maybe something they can work on. They can talk about, figure it out. But I feel like there's part of that equation there where he kind of gets that security blanket. But, like, I agree, though, Ashley, if we can dive into a little bit more of where that comes from, and maybe it's, like, stems from some sort of insecurity, maybe some family stuff. I don't know. Like, it just
Definitely.
He did
for sure.
He did mention that, like, just his family wasn't the type to say "I love you"
No.
to each other, which I get. Like, a lot of families are like that. Yeah, like my family didn't necessarily say that, but we were very much a huggy feely type of family. So, like, you knew that the affection was there. But so I definitely, yeah, I'm with you. I wonder how that comes into it. I do think it's like they knew each other 15 or 10 years ago. How wild is that? Like,
It's really
That's
cool.
so cute.
yeah, like that's insane. Like someone that I'm sure at the time, like he said, he mentioned like, oh, I wasn't being serious. He was in college. Like, of course, I don't blame you. So like, to then years later, you're running into this is your wife. I guess running into them is wrong. You're running into them in the altar, on the altar for the first time. Insane. Like that is, they did a great job of handling that. I don't know how other people would handle that situation.
Yeah.
So kudos.
Yeah.
Kudos to you
I think
too.
they'll be very interesting to see. I'm just very, very, very interested to see how they spend time together and how they unfold and how they kind of negotiate all these different things. Like even his thing with how he really likes to have his house very organized and have everything stacked up just right and all this stuff. Look, living with someone, no matter how clean and organized they are, they're gonna do it differently than you. And like, that has to be okay. You know, like all of those little things, like how are they gonna do on the honeymoon? Are they going to like to do, I don't know where they're going on the honeymoons yet, but do they like to do the same kind of activities? Do they, what?
I want to bet that they go to Mexico.
They're going to Mexico.
Yes.
Why Mexico? Like,
Just based
we have
off
one
of-
couple that's that's been to Mexico plenty of times. Let's go somewhere new.
That's fair. That is very
It'd be
fair.
like going to DR last season. Like, Vincent doesn't even go to DR.
Also, before you mentioned Vincent, the one couple that's still together from last season is the Dominican couple, Vincent. So, Married at First Sight.
They did it. They did it.
Producers.
1 out of 5.
More Dominicans on the show equals higher success. No, I'm kidding. It's 100% so far for the Dominicans that are on the show. Why am I rooting for your culture more than like, okay, screw that.
Yeah, I don't hear you
some
talking about
Nigerians on here.
Nigerians out here.
Right, we need to get the Nigerian percentages up to 102.
Oh, there's no guarantee that it's going to work with Nigerian. Let me say that now. But
Wow.
Dang!
we're the best. We're awesome, but there's no guarantee that's going to work.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Okay.
Because, we would say no if it's a bad person. That's why there's no guarantee.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. But you're
Redeem
perfect in
yourself
every
there with
way,
a comment.
right?
so.
Hey, you've said.
But like last season, they went to Vegas because of the pandemic. Yeah. We're in the pandemic still, so there's a lot of countries you can't go to, and Mexico was like the spot for people who wanted to go on vacation, but during the pandemic, so that's why my bet is Mexico.
Maybe.
We'll see.
Maybe.
If I'm right, though, the amount of I told you so's that are going to happen, I apologize in advance because it's going to be intense.
No shame. No shame. Well, didn't Johnny say that they got married January 31st? Is that like this year, like I can't count, 7 months ago?
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
Yep, because they were doing that while
Interesting.
season 12 was coming out.
Good point.
Yep.
Okay.
Dang, that was winter. Man, Texas is nice. We hella snow out here.
I know, it was like,
Do a Michigan episode in the winter.
everyone has their seasonal depression. They're just like, I don't know, I'm just going to wear a cardigan over this. It's too cold.
It's fine.
All right, let's move on. So next, let's talk about Zach and Michaela. So they seem pretty cute. I thought they seemed to have very good chemistry when they first met each other on the aisle. Mostly because, like, 30 seconds in, she was like, so do you want me to have your son? Like, she was...
Girls did not hold back.
His name is Zach? Oh, you want a Zach Jr.?
Like, okay, tell us how you feel. Like, I'm here for it.
No, I like her. She's going for it.
We saw that energy at, like, the bachelorette party. Like,
all the energy.
She seems to be just, like, live life to the fullest kind of a feeling. So, I don't know. I like where they're starting, at least.
She's my favorite person so far this season, by far.
Really?
Like,
She's pretty cool.
I appreciate, like, I don't know. Like, I think you kind of get to an age where you're like, whatever people are going to judge, let them judge. I'm going to do what I want to do. I feel like she's hit that point in her life.
Oh, yeah.
And I appreciate that. And, like, she's very, like, the scene that she had with her before, to give some backup information, but we learned that her father passed away due to a drunk driver. And from everything we hear, he was an amazing person. And the scene with her sisters, where they give her the Star Trek. I am not a Trekkie. I apologize to the Trekkies out there, but it looks like the Star Trek spaceship thing. I recognize that.
Yeah.
And, like, they were, like, you could tell it meant so much to her. And they're all Trekkies now because, like, there was a lot of emotion in that scene. I mean, I think Ashley and I were, like, straight up, like, tearing up a little bit. So I really like her. I think she's pretty, she's gone through a lot, but still, like, knows herself, and so I'm rooting for them for sure.
Yeah, same.
I think she's a good person. She seems very just easygoing, go with the flow, kind of happy with who she is, where she is in her life, and just, like, live it, you know. I loved her energy at the bachelorette party. Like, can I please invite her to literally any party I go to?
It would be a fun hang every time.
Oh yeah. And at the wedding, they were both so physically attracted to each other, and they were just owning it and having fun. I was just like, this is what I feel like every season when they give advice to the couples of just, like, lean into it, just go with it, trust the experts. Like, I felt like they lived that out in their reception, at least, like their wedding day. That's the vibe I got. They're just like, you know what? Yeah, we're going with it.
You know, the more you talk about this, the more they're like Woody and Amani a little bit.
That energy.
Their wedding energy, like, they're just like, yo, you can get it. Like, they were, like, feeling it real quick into the process. And
oh yeah, and their pictures, she was, like, feeling on his booty, and he was like, oh, hello. Like, he wasn't even mad.
Right?
Like, I guess go for it. He seems
getting
into it.
sexually assaulted by your wife.
Well, he said he wasn't mad, so it all worked out. But yeah, I'm excited to see how it goes for them. He also, I really liked, whenever they show scenes like this, it makes me happy. But when he was, like, getting to the hotel or something, or he was, like, with his brother and friend or whatever, like, their small group, and he was getting really emotional, and he was tearing up, and he's just saying how, like, ready he is for this and how excited he is. It's so so amazing and lovely to see when like a man, a big dude, is just crying and like talking about his feelings and stuff, and then his buddies just support him, and they were there for him, and like maybe later they give him a hard time and try to joke to kind of like get him to be a little bit more chipper, but like they just let him feel whatever he was feeling in that moment, and it wasn't like, oh, you're being a pussy, like like I appreciate seeing that so much. Like it's the bare minimum, but it's still like good healthy emotions.
Yes, healthy emotions.
Yeah, that's the one critique I have on that scene. Was I also enjoyed how open he was with his friends, and how they were just like, yo, we got you, and they're like hugging it out. And I totally agree with that, and I think that's the right thing and very healthy. But then you have to also make fun of him. Like, you do that for like a good 20, 30 minutes, you really connect,
oh my God,
and then proceed to be like, yo, we gonna be crying all day, or are we gonna like get married? No one like got that joke across.
Maybe they just
I
didn't show that part in the thing.
Maybe. But like, you could tell they care about each other, and like, and that was really moving. And just seeing his relationship with his brothers in general was really cool. Like
he seemed like a really just good person. Yeah. I did kind of get some charmer vibes from him, which I wasn't so like, I didn't love seeing, but it seemed like he's still a really good person. He knows how to be respectful and everything, but sometimes he kind of like knows, hey, I'm good looking, I'm successful, I can get it, like that kind of stuff. So he knows he can work it a little bit. So it was nice that he didn't, take advantage of that side. But I don't know. I'm interested to see the rest of the season with him kind of like, I don't know, feeling himself a little bit. We'll see.
Yeah, it's like the right level of confidence, right? Where like there's confidence along with humility. Well, that's a balance.
I feel like my role on this pod is to defend the guys who are considered pretty boys. I'm not a pretty boy. But, like, this is the same critique that what's-his-name was getting that I always defend unnecessarily.
Zach?
Zach. Where
wait, that's funny. They're both called Zach.
Oh, shit.
The Zacks.
Oh, no.
The Zacks, guys.
Black Zach or white Zach?
No,
yeah.
Oh, Mindy was also on the kickoff special. By the way.
Really?
She's amazing. She's now living in Mexico.
She lives in Mexico now?
Oh yeah, she's good.
She might be like the most beloved character besides Woody and Amani in Married at First Sight history.
Most beloved individual, and then most beloved couple will be Woody and Amani.
That's right.
Okay, I'll give her that. Yeah. I'll give her that title. But I would just say, Zach, do you, man? Okay, don't let them typecast you. Okay, he is an incredibly attractive-looking person, but don't let them typecast you like that. You've got layers, man. Don't listen to that. Okay. He does dress. What did you say? He dresses like Big Sean.
Yeah.
I think Ashley mentioned this when we were watching.
Oh, really?
I was like, what is that? That's funny. I don't know what that means, but okay.
I don't know what. I just got Big Sean vibes from him. I don't have any other information.
Big Sean wished he was that tall or good looking. Like, what are you talking about? But yeah, I found that funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is interesting that she is older. And the last time they did that, it was Bobby and Danielle, right? And she was older, and that worked out. So
yeah.
I mean, yeah, it could it could play out any number of ways, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm pulling out a bow, and I'm like, I have one example where it's this.
Exactly. I'm like, I mean,
upcoming things.
It's just
except he hasn't had any. I would consider any serious relationships. His longest was 9 months.
That is interesting.
That was
that is
He's 27.
Still, plenty of people are married together for 9 years by the time 27.
Yo, we're from Michigan. Like, the average marriage here is like 22, but like most other, like, they're in a big city.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know. Like, I feel like all the people I know from New York are like getting married, and they're like basically what's happening on this show, like 35. That's when they get married.
I don't know.
And then if you're from the South or the Midwest, you get married at like 20.
I don't know. I don't think it's that big of a deal. Like, It's just, I think the more that we watch this show, the more that we talk about it, I'm like, okay, I can see like some general themes of like what tends to work, what doesn't, and like kind of what types of folks like really do well in this environment and those that don't. But like, people are so complex, and there is so much that we would never know up front, that the experts could never know up front when they're selected for this, when producers are selecting them to see if they would be like even a good candidate for being on a TV show, like much less like be paired with someone to be married on one. Like, it's just, I think that's very humbling to me watching this, where I'm like, I might have a complete idea of like the kind of person that Zach is, and that could be absolutely completely wrong because of a million things. Like, part of it being only what we're shown on the show, part of it being the way he's acting because he's on the show and being aware of being recorded, or how he treats Michaela and how she is vibing with him. Like, there's so many things. And, you know, I think there is constantly room for us to be surprised, and that can also be very fascinating. So it's like, oh, I just realized I had a bias around this thing and I didn't even know it. And then you get to put a spotlight on those things.
Yeah. That was very well said. I was here just with hot takes, okay? And you couldn't.
I'm like, no, we're going to analyze this, and I'm going to go on a monologue. I'm sorry.
But he wore a suit. No, you're right. You're right. Something I've also noticed from this show is like, different people will bring out different parts of you. And like their previous seasons, there are some people where I feel like they are really, really, really good people, but the person they were paired with just brought out all the bad parts of them. Or vice versa, where it's a person who they're paired with someone who just brought out the best in them. Like, I think Woody and Amani just bring out the best in each other. So like it's really interesting to see how you can be yourself and know that you're yourself, but then whatever you're paired with kind of brings out other sides of you too. And that's really cool to see. Okay. All right. Is there anything else we want to talk about with them, or
that's all I got for them?
About the firefighter.
Yeah, let's move over to Gill and Merla.
Yes. Gill's my favorite.
Gill is something else.
This man is huge, okay? He is huge. I like him. He's cool.
I mean, he's like all the things. He's like a firefighter. He like rides a motorcycle. He like
his workout montage is him like lifting the giant tire. It's just like
it's like him bench pressing the fire truck.
Like comments, like what's he like to say? His DMs are gonna be popping.
Oh, but yeah.
I mean, Mabel already wants him to move out to San Diego.
So. Let me know, DM. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Like, if they better stay together. If not, Mabel is going off on those DMs.
Mabel's moving to Houston.
He is my favorite guy in this season, and Bao's my favorite girl in this season. I'll say that.
You like, so you're attacking the DMs, you go Spanish right off the bat, like Spanish DMs.
I have to think about it.
You're like, here's 10 facts about Colombia.
All I know about Colombia is their like soccer team when I watched them in the World Cup and Copa America.
Is there
good like defensive team? Okay, well, no one wants to hear about this, but not the best talent, but just hardworking, gritty defense.
You can get more details on Nagu's other podcast, Random Thoughts on Random Soccer Teams from Different Periods of Time.
You know why? I think one of the reasons why I had like this rant on Bao is I know that she would fucking hate me in real life, and I love that. Like, I would be like the type of person he would not like, because the moment she's like, "Oh, I don't like jockey people," then I'm like, I'm gonna make myself a jock. I'm not even a jock.
You're gonna try to push those buttons though?
Fuck yeah! I'm not trying to marry you. I don't care. Like, go ahead.
Ashley with her.
Oh my god. Because whenever someone like shows any judgment about something that they care about, then Nagu is like, "Fuck you, you're wrong," but then also like makes it true by being an asshole about it. It's fascinating, complex.
I just feel like I need to like now defend the jocks. Like, she's attacked all jocks.
So
the
this
jocks
season
are
we're defending
fine.
the jocks.
They're now all CEOs that go play golf with other CEOs.
That's interesting. Are you more likely to be a CEO if you're not a jock?
Okay, we're going to talk about
we'll
that later. Anyways, Mirla and Gill.
Anyways, yes, Mirla and Gill.
God. I mean, Mirla...
Sorry, listeners, we're back.
My read on Mirla is that she seemed like very uncomfortable at the bachelorette party, right? Like
Yes.
she seemed to just like, that wasn't her vibe. And we've seen this before, right? Like, I remember Christina, from like Christina and Henry in past seasons, was very uncomfortable in that sort of situation. And I think it's easy to be like, oh, she's like no fun and there's something wrong with her, whatever. But like, honestly, if you think about how different, again, back to my previous point about how complex humans are, like everyone likes different things. And just because we have the like standard of bachelorette and bachelor parties and like our culture here in the US and probably other places too, like it doesn't mean that everyone's going to fit into that. So like her version of that, if she were getting married under like more traditional circumstances, would probably be whatever her vibe is. Like, oh, I just want to have a nice dinner out with my girlfriends and then we're going to, you know, like go get pedicures and like watch a movie or something. Like her idea of that could be completely different. So I just want to like anybody who's holding judgment about her in that, just like give yourself a little break because we're all very different and that's okay.
Which I kind of wish though that the producers did that. Like, oh, you may not be a stripper party person, so how about you just go to dinner with your girlfriends? You know, sure, show up, say hi to the other brides and meet them, but then have your own bachelorette party. I kind of wish they did that because I think Christina would have loved that too.
What if the stripper like had a meal with her instead of like dancing? Like
She
they
was
just
still
went on a
good.
date.
She'd be like, the stripper would be like, can I feed you this? And then like put like his body like right in front of it.
Or where she said she likes to travel, like the stripper goes to like Greece with her. Like maybe that's
Why
her
is the
version. I'm
fantasy that she's going to go on some long extended date with a stripper who she's not marrying?
I mean,
Also
you do have a
picturing
point, though. It
him
doesn't have
like
to
not
be
wearing clothes,
party.
like he's just wearing like boxers the entire time. They're
Is this what you want for your
put some
bachelor
clothes on while we
party?
eat food. But the thing about her that I saw kind of rubbed me the wrong way was at the bachelorette party and even kind of in other spurts, she just gave me a judgmental vibe. Quick to kind of assess, like, how I think she was even talking about like Michaela like going like crazy at the party. She kind of gave me like a judgmental feel when she was commenting on that, which, hey, maybe I'm, being a hypocrite here because I'm judging her a few episodes. But I don't know. We'll see. And then she did have this passion for like her lifestyle because she's worked hard to attain it. And I don't know. I'm interested to see how that's going to play out because that's like the exact opposite of what Gill wanted. I don't know.
So, I think I'm with you about. I think the way the show edited the situation, they brought this back many times, and I feel like they're trying to paint a certain picture. Now, I don't know if this is foreshadowing because I've noticed that before. Foreshadowing, where they'll like they know that this is going to be a bigger thing later on, so they like throw in hints of it. But like when Gill was like, "Oh, I just don't want an Instagram model," and then they like cut to her like taking photos for Instagram, or I just don't want someone who's high maintenance, and she's like, "Oh, I like shimmy red bottoms," and she didn't say red bottoms, but they like mentioned that she likes to buy. But my feeling on this is if like we all have our thing that we care about, that's not necessarily me. I don't necessarily care about that, but I spend way more on like business related things than I think other people do, and I find that that's my vice, I guess you could say. So maybe like that's her version of that. That doesn't necessarily mean that like she's materialistic, even though I think the show is pushing it that way. So I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt and say like she likes shopping, she likes traveling. Like I'm trying to just end it there. But a little voice in my head's like, it's not gonna work because of that. She's on the gram, but like I don't I don't know if that's true necessarily. Ashley, how do you feel? I feel like you're going to come in with a more reasonable take.
Oh no!
So I'll let you.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think they're definitely trying to once again paint the lady as the picture of she's like this materialistic, not egotistical,
diva.
but like, yeah, the diva. Like Pastor Cal used that word for her, and said that Gill is going to sort of balance her out a little bit because he's more grounded or something. Maybe he didn't use that exact language, but the idea that like the reasonable man will help her kind of find more balance in her lifestyle. Once again, I'll say the same thing I say every time this comes up. It seems like she's taking care of herself. Like she's not, it's not like she's, not eating because she spent her check on getting her nails done or her lashes done or anything like that. Right. So like, who gives a flying fuck what she spends her money on? Also, it's really expensive to be a woman. And there's a lot of beauty standards that are and kind of designed to be expensive and require a lot of upkeep. And, things like getting your lashes done every week, if that makes her feel more like herself and more confident and it's in her budget and it works for her, like that's honestly no one's business to tell her that that's not okay or right. The same way, like Agu is saying, like we all have our different things that we choose to spend our money on. And like, that's totally fine. Like it's really not about what you're spending the money on. It's just making sure that you're like taking care of your shit. Like that's it. And so I dislike very much how they're doing that because I think it's really sexist. And I also, just by contrast, it's kind of making Gill feel like the guy that's going to come in and kind of parent her. And I don't think that dynamic is great either. So I think I would hope that two people coming into this marriage would be able to do that in a way where they're saying, okay, I recognize I'm coming into this blind and I'm just going to learn about who you are and try to understand you and do as much as I can to understand who you are as much as possible and how we blend together in order to make a decision about if I want to stay in this marriage or not, and not come in with the expectation that I'm going to change you to meet, my standards of what I think people should do or act like or spend their money on or anything like that. Like going into any situation expecting someone to change for you or change to your preferences is like you're kind of setting yourself up for that tension to be there quite a bit. And you can imagine feel like how that would feel on the opposite side of it. I'm sure we've all had this experience with someone who wants us to be different in some way than we are, and how that feels to feel like you're not fully accepted because someone doesn't accept part of you and feels like it's something that's wrong with you. So, I mean, we'll see how it goes with them longer term, but that does bring up some concerns if he kind of has these attitudes to begin with, about like what it means to be someone who is described as high maintenance or a diva, because those have so many like loaded connotations.
And I think you hit on a really good part. As long as they're both independently like, hey, I'm going to be like this, you don't worry about it. I mean, it's not like I'm going to expect you to pay for my nails, or he's like, I'm going to expect you not to pay at all for nails, like that kind of thing. Like, I think they're going to have to learn that. If it's going to work, we'll see, obviously. But like, for them to be able to maintain their own individual preferred lifestyles, I think they're going to have to keep that independent of each other, right? And
I do think so. Yes, I'm with you. It's a very easy trope, and sometimes the show likes to use that. I do think, though, this is Brett and Olivia was a great example of sometimes I think the guy can feel that way because he knows that like he is not able to afford that type of lifestyle. So, like I think Brett and Olivia is a great example of that, where he's like, like if you want to do that, that's totally understandable. Totally like, that's cool. I'm just not able to go there with you, So, and I don't know Gill. All I know about him is that he is from Colombia. He's a firefighter. The man's swole. So that's all I know at this point. But from what firefighters get paid here in Michigan, I don't know what they get paid in Texas, but they're not necessarily balling like that to be able to like buy designer clothing and go on trips all the time. So maybe that's part of it, is just like, hey, it's expectation setting where like if that is something that you find really important, maybe you want to be with someone who is in a different type of person. You know, you want to be with a high earner in that sense. So I think sometimes like when guys say that, I think that's part of the thing. Like you're trying to say that without saying it, of like, you know, he doesn't have the money for someone who wants to go on vacations 4 or 5 times a year. So I think that might be it. But I don't like the idea of like now find a person who's going to fix you too.
Yeah,
that
I know, right?
I think that's like that opposites attract thing. Sometimes they do that on the show sometimes, where it's like, this person has this flaw, we'll pair them with someone else who's gonna fix that. Like, no, pair them with a therapist. Like, don't pair them. So yeah, but
Exactly.
Good point.
Yep.
Good point.
All right.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how they play out. I mean, maybe they do kind of balance each other out, but I'm a little worried whenever they say that, like, they'll ground this person, or they'll bring it like, they're an independent person before this marriage, which is why we loved Woody and Amani so much. Like, they were their complete selves before the marriage.
That's right.
We'll see.
That's right.
We'll see.
super last thing, his background was also kind of tragic. I did want to acknowledge that with his
A lot
father,
of trauma in this group, man. Oh my god.
Was it like a home robbery? And
Yeah, he lost.
that's how he lost his
Oh my
father.
god.
Yeah.
There's some really strong people on this season, because these are just some hard things to go through. So, and to be able to share it, and so, it's tough. Very strong people.
Definitely. All right, let's switch gears here to Brett and Brian. So they're interesting. I think I'm struggling a little bit to get a read on both of them, because they both kind of seem, maybe we just haven't seen as much screen time of them, but I just don't have like a super strong impression. I mean, Brett seems, it sounds like her parents have been together for a long time and have a really great dynamic that she really looks up to. So really has that like strong base to kind of compare her experiences to. Brett has, I would kind of describe his vibe as a little bit more like Henry from Henry and Christina, of a lot. He kind of operates in the subtleties, you know, and probably until you get to know him. And the scenes with his family were interesting and helpful to like kind of understand where that comes from. So what's your read on either of them or both of them?
I will be very quick because I did not watch as much. So I think, Mabel, you'll have a lot more insight than I would. But I think what I noticed was the scenes with his family were kind of dry. They needed a little bit of seasoning. Like, everyone's a little bit kind of monotone. And they were just kind of picking on him for being a serial dater. So watching that, I was kind of like, oh, is this, like, he strikes me, like you said, kind of Henry-like, a little quiet. It's a lot of substance is there, but he's not like going to bang you over the head with his opinions. He's just kind of let you do your thing. So there's that. And then Brett, I don't really know. Like, I don't really know. In
conclusion, I don't know.
Basically, I could have just shortened this and said I don't know.
What do you think, Mabel?
I really liked them. I thought that they were really cute in their wedding. Just, they both seem to be really into the experience, the process, being married, and just ready to be married. And then they gave the early kiss, which I thought that was adorable. They kissed before they were supposed to, and then they kissed again. I don't know. They kind of both seem like they're focused on each other and committed to this process. And I think that's really good to see so early on. I'm hopeful for them both. The one thing I am worried about is the whole country thing, because Ryan's a country boy. Brett, however, she is not loving the whole country vibe.
Yeah.
She is not excited about it. She does not know any country songs. She does not want to put on the cowboy boots, the hat, the lasso. Like, please don't include her. She was not enjoying that part. And even the two-step, like, all this stuff. She just seemed very much like, almost in her own head even about it at the wedding, to be like, oh no, like, don't dip me, don't twirl me, I don't know what I'm doing, this is not comfortable for me. So like, I would love to see her open up a little more in this experience with him, because I feel like she's awesome. She seems super fun, cool, driven, you know. I want to see them work out.
Do you think that part of it, I feel like there's this trope where, like, as soon as you hear a person listens to country, you then assume they're a certain type of person, or some people do that. And I wonder if that's what was kind of going on. I was just going to ask that.
Maybe.
Really?
Maybe. I mean, I think that since she is so much almost like against country, yeah, partly. But I mean, the family did bring up country quite a bit, like talking about the ranch and the music and the hunting, and like they made it a big deal about him that he is through and through.
He's a country boy.
Yeah. It's kind of the, I don't know, maybe it was editing, I don't know, but that's how it felt. And so since they kept asking, even like asked her, like, are you okay with this? And she was like, hell no.
Yeah, I could understand that hesitance as someone who grew up maybe more like Brett did, where like my dad is a big outdoorsman, hunting and fishing and all that kind of stuff. We had like some land in northern Michigan where we would deer hunt and goose hunt and duck hunt. And that's a lot of my childhood was spent doing those types of activities. I definitely can understand how from the outside sometimes that culture is really jarring to someone who didn't grow up in that environment, because it's like very normalized, like for someone like me, and like, you know, like as you grow older you're like, oh, okay, I kind of can see like this whole thing differently, rather than if you are kind of first experiencing that when you're an adult and you're seeing just it's a whole culture around that of like being outdoors. And to some people the idea of hunting and like killing an animal is unfathomable, and like, why would you do that? That's terrible. And like from families, from other people, it's more of a perspective of like, no, like hunting and fishing and doing those things is like, you can only do that when you really immerse yourself in nature and understand how all the different things work. And there's a deep respect for how that happens. And it's not like a sport in the sense of like, this is just fun to do. It's like a tradition of, this is a way that we kind of just continue like a heritage of how people have always lived off of the land, and do that in a way that is responsible and safe and ethical and all those things. And like everyone approaches that very differently, but like I could definitely understand someone maybe like Brett who sees that and has kind of different ideas of what that means, and be really put off by it and see it as like, these people are crazy. Like, why would you want to do this kind of activity, and like, why is it so big of a part of your family and things like that. So hopefully they can have more conversations around that, and he can give a little bit more color to like what it is about it that is so important to them. And I hope that goes well, but that'll be interesting to see unfold, because it gets complicated.
And hopefully like she comes from a place of curiosity as opposed to judgment. Given us a lot of her character or her personality. So like, but this is I don't know if I should say this, whatever. Ashley kept on talking about how great her breasts looked in the thing, so I feel like we should mention that. Great dress.
She did.
Brett her tits looked fantastic. Great job, Brett.
Yeah, so I just want to put that out there.
I thought you were talking for a second about my boobs, and I was like, why would I talk about my boobs? I mean, yes,
would
they
be
look
weird.
stunning, but like, why would I bring that up now? Everyone's like Googling the recording.
What? Yeah, what are you talking about? Yeah. I mean, she did. Like,
Yeah, she looked
Brett
great.
was rocking in her dress.
She looked great.
It's a lot. It was, go for it. Live your life. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
The one thing I will say about them, I'm a little concerned. Because Ryan is so reserved, it's hard to get a read on it. But when she was talking to his friends about what's his type, am I his type, they said no, which, hey, honesty, best policy. And she responded saying, yeah, not my type either. But then when she was with her friends, she was talking about how cute he is. So I don't know if that was like all right, guard up, I'm going to say he's not my type either. I don't know. I'm interested to see, like, it seemed like she held herself together well, but she was a little hurt. Like, all right, so he's not even going to find me attractive? Like, that's great, you know?
I always find that weird. Like, do you want the person to say you're just her type? Like, that's like, then that's like a fetishization thing. Ooh, that would be weird.
Then you're like a category insteir of an individual person.
Like, they're like,
Yeah.
some friends I have who, like, I know what their new girlfriend is going to look like. Like, it's an offshoot of someone else that I've seen before. And I don't know. Part of that just feels creepy to me, but if you know that that's what you like and prefer, there's nothing wrong with going for that. It's different.
I kind of have a theory around types that, like, whatever your like earlier experiences are with dating or crushes or whatever it is, that you just start to ascribe those feelings to the general characteristics of that person. And then when you see those general characteristics elsewhere, you're like, oh, I remember those feelings. Those feelings are coming up again. And then you go for them, and then you have even more feelings to those like group of characteristics. And then you just kind of end up that you just kind of randomly pick a type. Like, I think there's like nuance there, but I'm very curious how that develops.
We should definitely have like a longer conversation about
what's
types.
your type?
Yeah. In general, just like, do types exist? Yeah, cool.
All right.
I mean, people definitely have types, but yeah, I know what you mean.
But yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, is it like cut and dry? How they,
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like it'd be weird if I was, like, she was asking that question and like, oh yeah, you're just his type. Like, his ex from 3 weeks ago looked just like you. Like, that would be weird. I mean, like,
it could be. I can see how it could be weird. Or it could be flattering. I don't know.
it could be flattering.
It could be anything. The jury's out.
Right.
Okay, this is true.
Yeah.
Okay, who do we have left? I forgot.
Jose and Rachel.
Yep, Jose and Rachel. Yeah, so Mabel, tell us about Jose and Rachel, because you saw a little bit more of them than we did.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely are both more traditional, and they are looking for that partner, a little like traditional in, gender stereotypes, it feels like, and also how they view marriage. They had a nice little Mexican Hispanic part of their ceremony where they had the roses draped over them in unity, basically, and it's something that you see a lot in Catholic Hispanic. I don't know if it's particularly Mexican or it's Hispanic in general, but I definitely know I've seen it at my friends and family that have been married to a Mexican, and it's very Catholic, signifying that they're coming together and they're one. Gotcha. So I thought that was sweet. They had a little part of that, and I liked that they were so happy with each other. They had this kind of like, oh, I'm so glad that I found my twin even, which was kind of a little weird to hear it back. I was like, okay. But they wanted someone that was very similar to them. They wanted someone that had a lot of their same values, that had a lot of their same interests. They both love sports. They did not, either of them, they did not believe in opposites attract at all. And one thing, though, I will say, when they were talking, I kind of felt bad for him. So he complimented her, like, through and through. He was like, you are gorgeous. I'd asked the experts for so many things. I felt like I had a laundry list, and you checked all the boxes. You are basically beautiful. He was talking about her physical and personality. Her response, though, she basically didn't flatter him as much. She said that, yeah, same. I wanted so many things in my partner. I told the experts, I don't care about the looks. I just want personality. And he was like,
oh, baby. Oh, baby. Just think about it for a second. Just one second. Oh, so he was probably not feeling that comment too much.
No.
Oh my God.
He's like, what's that supposed to mean? Are you trying to tell me I'm not attractive?
You know, it's so shocking to me how few of the people on this show, on the like first interactions they've had with their new spouse, don't have the instinct to make sure that they say something about like, oh, you look great, you look so handsome, you look so beautiful, like you just compliments like the basics. You know, like this is such a high pressure situation, and like to just not use that as an opening is like, buddy, like make sure you
But what
start
if
at a
she
high
doesn't
note.
find him cute?
Well,
If she doesn't find him cute,
just say
you're
it
not gonna
and work it
lie.
out later. But like, don't like he
Just avoid it then.
like if you think the guy looks like Shrek, just be like, oh my God, look at your outfit, like.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. We don't really know that much about them, so I have nothing to go off of. But the one thing that I was a little hesitant on is it seems like her breakup was very recent.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that I was a little concerned about, of how, if she's necessarily ready for a marriage in this sense, or if she needs a little bit more time. But if she feels like she's ready, I mean, that's all that matters. So who will see. But yeah, that was the one little thing. Also, the scene where Jose was like in front of, I'm assuming it looked like his church parking lot, and he's sitting on like a rock or something, reading the Bible with a crucifix on his neck. It's just like, but that wasn't a crucifix. Well, it was hilarious to me. Like,
It was the weirdest
Married at First
B-roll I've
Sight.
ever seen.
they loved
extra.
they loved the workout montage. Like literally everybody. Gil's lifting his like tires,
Lifting his fire
solid,
truck.
great form. Like I was like, this guy's killing it. We got like just everybody was doing like their little workout routine. And then Ori's like reading the Bible, sitting at home reading the Bible, which so Married at First Sight, I see you. Yeah. So do you think are you leaning more yes or no to them, Mabel, from what you've seen?
Yeah, I think so. They fit the molds for each other, I think, and they seem to be happy.
It's good.
That's all that matters. Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, I'm very interested.
Their sense of...
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I think the resistance to the opposites attract kind of theory around that is really interesting. That from what I tend to have seen and experienced, I feel like in general the opposites attract, or maybe just opposites balance or something like that. Like that tends to be more true to me. And so I am curious to see how this works out for two people who asked for someone that was similar to them, and how that dynamic plays out when they are very similar. Because I know, like, in the past, if I like dated an introvert, like we didn't go anywhere, you know, like you get your kind of worst instincts get exacerbated because the other person isn't challenging you in that way. And then like I found being with an extrovert, being with Mr. Agu here, like all of those things, like all of my like worst tendencies just kind of get like clipped really early because of who he is. And like, I also clip some of those things for him. And like, you kind of get more of a balanced life that way. But if you know for sure that like, hey, I really want life and like the vibe in my home to be very similar to what I am, and I want someone else to really match that energy, then like, that's totally valid too. So I'm just curious to see how that works for other people. Yeah, just longer
But
term.
who is quote unquote not fixing you? Like, you know, some of the experts even talked about in this season, like that's, you know, pretend you applied for the show, right? You probably would have
Oh,
asked for someone a little more
interesting.
extroverted because you knew that about yourself, right? Like
Yeah.
that was something that you already knew, versus being like, no, I want an extrovert, and then bam, surprise.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I feel like, so I also clearly, I feel the same way in terms of, if I'm with someone who's a little too similar to me, it's interesting. There's not a lot of like downtime I've noticed, which that can be a problem. Like you want to like be able to like relax and watch TV every once in a while. So like, I definitely understand like the opposites attract thing, but I think you, like, the person has to decide that. Like, I think everyone's instinct is to like pick someone that's like them, and then each person decides if they want that or if they want to do something a little different. Where when you're like on a show like this, since most people want to pick something that's very similar to them, it's probably safer to do that first.
I think safe is that key word, because you already know what it's like to spend time with yourself. So if there's just another human embodiment of you that's, has the same kind of instincts, then you feel like maybe you kind of know what to expect a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, and there's some comfort in being around something that you know, right? Like if you know how this person is going to behave because that's how you would behave, I could see that being comfortable.
Guess we'll see with them.
It was funny when they went to bed at the end of the reception. He had his little Chippendales bow tie, which actually had to explain to me a little more of that reference, but I still thought it was cute that he was so lighthearted and
That's a good move.
spice it up.
Trying to look cute for his new wife.
But he had nothing else on besides a bow tie.
He had a gray t-shirt on and boxer briefs.
Okay. Okay.
They weren't quite rated R for Married at First Sight audience.
He wasn't like, who was that? Beth from Beth and Jamie, who was like their first night, and she just like took everything off, and like they had to blur out her
Slept
boobs.
naked.
She's just like, what? I'm confident with my body, and he was just like beet red.
Okay.
That was my favorite. Just to be like, nope, you guys can be uncomfortable. I'm gonna be comfortable. That's
Not my problem.
I like that.
And they're still together today.
Yeah, living their best lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
Guys, we did it.
So we've officially covered everybody, right?
We did our
it?
first episode for season 13. Stage.
Always the beginning.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks guys for joining us for this episode. We're probably going to have maybe a slightly different format than we have in past seasons. Just, frankly, we love doing this show, but it takes a lot of time to do. And so we want to still be able to deliver content to you guys and talk about the show, but it might not be exactly how we've done it before. So we're going to have Married at First Sight topics throughout these episodes, and there might be some other stuff that we talk about too. But we just want to keep the conversation going. So if you have stuff you'd like us to cover, even if it's not Married at First Sight related, please send it our way. We are on Instagram at Cup of Three Podcast, or we're cupof3podcast@gmail.com. So we always love to hear from you guys. It's like literally immediately when we get any message, one of us will screenshot it and send it to the group text, and we're all just like, oh my God, someone's reaching out to us. And get very excited. So
That's true.
yeah. So yeah.